All right, so I want to help y'all out with OBS settings. I did a previous take of this, so um, what we're gonna do is instead of me sitting here and rambling about these settings and why you should use them, I'm gonna go to the person I get resources from, and we're gonna watch a bit of their videos. Maybe not the entire thing. One we will, but it's pretty short. I'm gonna just tell you what matters, or go to what matters. So, Epos Fox, amazing content creator. Please, if you like this content or you like, you know, this stuff, getting technical like I am about to, subscribe to this creator, please. They're amazing. So yeah, this is our first video we're gonna watch. We're gonna watch this entire video because it's pretty important. I'm gonna butt in to say important things that might conflict with things a bit or my opinions, but opinions are subjective. But anyways, I digress. I'm just gonna play the video.
YouTube streaming just got way better. The RTMPS updated spec I covered back in April is officially out of beta, and everyone can stream HEVC or AV1 video to YouTube and get significantly higher quality for your bitrate, or maintain the same quality while pushing a lower bitrate. To do this, open up OBS Studio version 29 and up, set your stream location to YouTube-RTMPS, and log in with your YouTube channel. Then in the output settings, you can choose HEVC or AV1 encoders where available instead of just H.264. Whether you have an NVIDIA GPU, Intel Arc GPU, or AMD RX 5000 series or above GPU, HEVC is a great option that will get you higher quality encodes sent to YouTube. The RX 580 also has HEVC, but from what I've seen, it's not worth using most of the time. Feel free to try it if you're still rocking Polaris though. This might even perform better for you than your H.264 streams did too, depending on your graphics card. If you're on NVIDIA RTX 4000 series, AMD RX 7000 series, or Intel Arc graphics cards, you can select your GPU's specific AV1 encoder as well. This is an even higher quality encoder. Those who see the AOM and SVT AV1 encoder options, those just run on your CPU like X264 and are very tough to encode at a high quality in real time. I'd only ever recommend trying it on a dedicated streaming PC for console or dual PC streaming setups, and even then GPU HEVC is probably the way to go over using those. I will say now that this update allows you to squeeze more quality for your bits that you send to YouTube, but YouTube always transcodes everything, with these streams usually to VP9. That's okay, but the usual rules of YouTube quality apply. 1080p will struggle to look good for any high detail, high action gameplay, and there's no secret trick to fixing that. Whether you're uploading a video or live streaming, YouTube does not allocate enough bitrate to their 1080p transcodes to look good to most gaming or high action creators. Instead, I highly recommend upscaling your stream to 1440p or 4K. This gives you much higher bitrate transcodes and thus higher quality to the viewers, even if you aren't playing or capturing native 1440p or 4K. You can do this right in OBS by going to Settings, Video, and then changing the output scaled resolution box to 2560 by 1440 or 3840 by 2160. You'll have to delete what's there and type it manually. Then choose Area for the scaling method. The only real downside here is that you can't use the lower latency modes for YouTube streams with 4K, but they do work with 1440p.
First off, this is pretty important. A lot of people will think, don't know like it's based off resolution. People will select 1440p and leave it at normal latency and be like, this is stupid. I'm gonna go back to ultra low 1080p. I wouldn't use normal latency. Normal latency is like really bad. You know, you hear YouTube streaming sucks. At like 4K resolution. This is why. So yeah, stick to low latency 1440p, please. Or I mean, I wouldn't use 1080p for the reasons mentioned here. But yeah, I would just try to not use normal latency. If I go back a bit, I do want to talk a bit about that area scaling thing that was mentioned right here. I've tried this, and like, yeah, it works. I feel like it looks better if you just do everything at native resolution. So, if you want to scale, sure, do this. Um, but I find it looks better running at native. If you're cool with having to rescale everything in your OBS scene, just do it native. I find it looks better personally. So yeah, um, yeah. And then there is some. Normally this will default to normal latency, so make sure you change that. There's another setting in here that I'll show you real quick. But yeah.
4K, but they do work with 1440p. For bit rates, I recommend streaming 3.5 to 6-ish megabits per second for 1080p 60, though again, I recommend avoiding 1080p. Then 5 to 15 megabits per second for 1440p 60, and 12 to 25 megabits per second for 4K 60. Higher is
These are usually a bit off from what NVIDIA recommends. I know for 1440p, they recommend a maximum of 14 megabytes per second. And by the way, what this means in OBS is just add 3 zeros to the end. So for example, 1080p, you want to use 3.5K, 3.5000 to 6,000 in the box. It's in kilobytes, and that's how you convert it. So yeah, the soft cap that's mentioned is 50, but it's actually 51. But we're never gonna hit that, as you can see.
Is better to a degree. YouTube's soft cap is around 50-ish megabits per second, but you don't have to use higher bit rates to still look good. For comparisons of how these bit rates look on stream, check my original video and testing stream VODs in the description below. AMD RX 7000 users will need to set the preset to speed if using AV1 and 1440p or higher resolution.
I forgot to unmute. If you're on an AMD GPU, just know when I go through this preset setting, or just in general, set it to speed. If you're on AV1, or yeah, for AV1 above 1080p. So, yeah, which you're gonna do, most likely. So, yeah. Mute, come on.
Combine this with the new YouTube control panel updates in OBS Studio version 30 beta, and YouTube streamers are getting quite a nice experience these days. Twitch, please update. As a bonus tip, when you're done
This is not important, but I guess I'll just let it play out.
streaming after your VOD processes, which may take an hour or two, use the YouTube editor to trim off any dead air at the start and end of your stream, and maybe even clip out the ones during breaks too, to help with viewer retention and watch time. Enjoy higher quality streams on any hardware going back to the GTX 10 series NVIDIA cards and AMD RX 5000 series and higher, and any ARC users out there. It's that simple. If you want more help with OBS, check out my definitive guide course at eposvox.gg/course.
Alright, that's the first video out of the way. Second video, we're not going to watch the entire thing of it, and we are going to go through some OBS settings, because this is a lot of information dumping, but yeah. So, not all this video really applies. Simple mode gets upgraded, but I'm not going to, like, sit here and... You shouldn't use simple mode. Lossless audio is pretty cool. I'll let this play out, and then there's a section on the settings to use right here. Yeah, I would it's gonna be a lot of info dumping, and then I'll come in here and say, hey, this is what you just used if you just like tuned out everything. So anyway, I'm gonna let this play out, and I'll butt in at the end there.
So many different options depending on the container that you use. You have MP4, MKV, MOV. With MP4, you have lossless audio in the form of Apple's lossless codec, which is ALAC, and then you have FLAC for the free version. FLAC is not currently working properly in DaVinci Resolve and will completely crash your project and like corrupt your project file, so don't use that. But ALAC actually works just fine. You also have Opus available as well. Now, if you're using an MOV container, you get access to PCM Wave uncompressed audio, as we have been requesting for so long. And you can do it in even up to 32-bit float, which is really powerful because that means, now this won't help your streams, but for videos, it means if you clip due to your software filters, or if you have a 32-bit float audio interface, I have not tested that yet, we'll test that in the future, but at least with your filters, if you clip, you can actually recover that clipping, as I will show you here. I have recorded this where you can see here, audio is set to 0. I have recorded it with just gain cranked to infinity, and the output file is very distorted. We are clipping, but I can just come in here and drag it down. And now when we play it back, we are clipping. No distortion, no clipping. This is due to 32-bit float audio, which is in a way kind of like raw video, but for audio, like raw audio, in that it is impossible, more or less, to clip. I have a full explainer of 32-bit float in this review of an audio interface that comes with it, linked in the video description. It is incredibly powerful stuff.
I'm gonna jump ahead. A lot of the audio stuff is like most people may not it may not affect you. It's just better quality, which isn't bad to have. But yeah, it's a very like niche setting. But if you want the highest quality, there you go.
Recording formats, specifically, like you have some others that you don't really need to worry about, but specifically,
Actually, oh, this wasn't mentioned. It's the AV1 stuff later.
fragmented MP4, which is now the default, and fragmented MOV. These are files that will not corrupt when OBS crashes, like traditional MP4 will. This has been a long-running issue, and why for years my default has been to tell you to use MKV, and eventually OBS resorted to defaulting to MKV because MKV is a file container that contains your video that won't corrupt or is less likely to corrupt if OBS crashes, if your computer loses power, whatever. Fragmented MP4 and MOV is very similar in that it won't do that. You may have some issues with your video editor supporting at least fragmented MOV, as I've been working in the OBS Discord trying to test some issues I'm getting.
I've had problems with fragmented MOV with DaVinci Resolve when it came out to the public, so I don't know if it works now. Where this was 29.1, we're a full version ahead now on 30, so it might be fixed. DaVinci's also had some updates, so maybe they fixed it in one of the updates, but yeah, I would just test it out first before you do it for an actual video. So yeah.
Getting some corruption and things like that depending on format. Hopefully they'll have all that fixed before the beta comes, to public release for the non-beta version. But the advantage here is if you use one of these formats and then you still remux, which they have to fix the remux or to support, but remux to MP4 or MOV traditionally, you no longer have the weird audio sync issues in Adobe Premiere Pro that a lot of people have due to the weird timescale issue that MKV files have compared to what Adobe Premiere expects. So that is very exciting. So my recording setup moving forward will be fragmented MOV once it works for me. So for me, it's just going to be MOV, NVIDIA HEVC, and PCM 32-bit float audio. Once things are fixed up a little bit, my recommendation will probably be fragmented MOV, FFmpeg 32-bit float audio for your recordings. This will be completely uncompressed, so you don't have compressed audio going into your recording. You don't got to worry about generational loss or anything like that. And you get that safer container again. Probably for another beta update or so before that's fully implemented. The reason that I'm recommending using MOV instead of MP4 here is because MP4 does not support PCM audio, which is completely uncompressed. Now you could still use the Apple lossless audio codec with MP4. Totally fine. It's lossless. You're not going to have any issues with it, but you don't get 32-bit float. So lots of technical jargon.
That's pretty much a good TLDR of like what to use there. Fragmented MOV or MOV if you're having issues. NVIDIA NVENC HEVC or AV1 for your video encoder. I would recommend using AV1 over that. And then audio encoder, 32-bit float, the PCM one. And then, we talked about more about AV1 streaming and yada yada. Stringer. If you use transitions, you get the option to hit a checkbox now to pre-render them into memory. Preload video to RAM. So that's pretty nice if you if you do that. But it's a minor thing. Here's another video on Twitch streaming, Twitch settings. We're not gonna watch it though because I'm only focusing on YouTube here. I also have this NVIDIA guide because a lot of this video talked about some settings but didn't say everything. I'm gonna pull from this for other stuff. First thing though, you need to run a speed test. So go to speedtest.net and then click go, and that's gonna run a speed test. And yeah, let's go ahead and actually apply these settings to OBS. General is just a bunch of like aesthetic stuff with like snapping, and it's not going to affect your quality. Under source, YouTube RTMPS is good for most cases, or just Twitch if you're going to go to Twitch. If you want to do HDR streams, hit show all and go to YouTube HLS. So we're not doing that. You might want to check this box here, ignore streaming service recommendations, because we're going to go over this 160 kilobytes for the audio bitrate. Under output, under streaming, you want to make sure, there's no setting here. Make sure your audio track is the track with everything in it, because you want everything to be in your stream. So yeah, I'll show you how to do that in a sec. Video encoder, as mentioned, NVIDIA, NVENC, HEVC or AV1 for YouTube. And then if you're on Twitch, H.264. AMD has their versions as well. So does Intel with QuickSync. And Apple has their own hardware encoder with these same things. Don't use AOM, AV1, SVT, AV1, or X264. Just don't use those. So yeah. Under rate control, you want it to be CBR. Let's see how that speed test is going. All right, cool. So for our bitrate, that was like perfectly timed. We want to take your that's kind of high. Okay, cool. Well, you would take your upload speed, add 3 zeros to it, maybe give or take some. The best way to do is to take your upload speed, go to this NVIDIA chart, and then right here they have a thing for what resolution to run. So my upload speed was in the 200, so it doesn't really matter. But I would just go here, be like, okay, mine is 50, go with 40. What they're doing here, like really, you could add 3 zeros to this number and use that as your bit rate. That is perfectly fine, but you're not really giving any wiggle room for other devices, and that's why they subtract some number to get this bit rate, just to give wiggle room for other devices. And like upload speed can fluctuate from this number, so if it's lower than this number and you set it to exactly that number, you're gonna be losing some frames and stuff, which isn't good. Something to note here, as you'll see, is like quality differences between H.264 and HEVC are like massively different. To do 1440p in H.264, well, it's not even listed here, but I had to run about 20 to 25 megabytes, whereas now it's 15, which is significantly less quality, or even 12. Yeah, much better. But yeah, try to prioritize 1440p 60. But I would prioritize frame rate over resolution. I would do 1080p 60, go up to 1440p 60 if you can. Um, you get the point. Just try to stay at 1440p 60 and go from there. But if you have to go down, I would do 1080p 60 over 1440p 30, even with the YouTube stuff. YouTube compression with 1080p content looking actually garbage. Especially if you're playing like Splatoon, high frame rate games where that matters. But anyways, yeah. Keyframe interval. This stuff wasn't mentioned in any of the videos that I played. So if we go over here to the NVIDIA settings, it'll say in here what to use, and you can apply this to other GPUs. So yeah. Where is it? Streaming settings. Here we go. Oopsie. Well, yeah. Generally, you can just follow this in. Keyframe interval 2, preset P6. P7 is better. Like it does, but like in testing from EposVox in previous videos, he found that like it's either bugged, or it doesn't like actually increase. It uses more hardware, but doesn't look any better. So P6 is what everyone's been recommending for that reason. Tuning is at high quality. I believe the preset on AMD GPUs is different. They use the speed for anything above 1080p in AV1. That was mentioned back in that one EposVox video we watched. Multipass is set to quarter resolution. I don't know why, but I guess it's efficient. Because I find working in full res is pretty demanding. I accidentally had it on there once. Profile is high. Check both of these boxes. Max B frames is 4 if this is checked. If it's unchecked, you set it to 2. But leave it checked and do it 4. This is an older same thing they recommended, so you can even see using H.264 over here. In the text, it actually says set to 4 if you uncheck, it might be a bit different. You might not have a lot of these settings if you're on like an AMD GPU or on Apple's encoder and stuff, but try to get as close as you can get to these settings. It may not be exactly the same unless you're on an NVIDIA GPU, so yeah. And like even if you're using AV1, it might be different. I don't know. Under recording, what I would do is, MOV. I've had issues with fragmented MOV, but, give it a shot. I would select fragmented first, MOV, give it a shot, and then if it doesn't work in a test video, use MOV. HEVC or AV1 for your NVIDIA, you get the point. Even if you are Twitch streaming, these are videos, so as long as you're not recording and streaming at the same time. For audio encoder, 32-bit float. I would say for video encoder, I said HEVC and AV1, but if you are streaming and recording at the same time, use your stream encoder, please. Because otherwise, it's doing 2 different separate tasks of encoding, and most GPUs, unless you're probably on like a 40 series GPU, you might be fine. I don't know. I'm on a 2080 Super, and it can't do recording and streaming with these settings, so you might have to use your stream encoder. I think audio is fine normally. I don't really have issues with that. Rate control is CQP, CQ level. NVIDIA recommends 15 on their CQ level, I think. What is this? CQ level on, this is recording, right? Yeah. See, they still recommend MKV, which isn't true. And like H.264, yada yada. They recommend CQP. They say 15. EposVox was saying to do a different number. I'm just gonna roll at 15 because they say NVIDIA you can decrease to get higher quality. So I'm just gonna stick with 15. Keyframe interval is 2. I think that's what they recommend. Yeah, 0 or 2. P6, high quality tuning. You get the gist. Profile is either main or main 10. Main 10 is 10-bit. ePlusVox went through this in one of their videos we didn't play. And YouTube doesn't support 10-bit, but in the future it will, and that will future-proof you. But like right now, it's not gonna look good. So I would do main if you care about right now, and then in the future it'll look a bit outdated. But yeah, max B frames is the same setting. This is supposed to be 4, not 2. And then check the box, yada yada. Audio. I would settle these tracks to 320. Back a while ago, there was an update to both Twitch and YouTube. Twitch came later, obviously. That allowed the audio bitrate to be separate from video, so it wouldn't affect your video quality. So set it to 320 because you can. It's higher quality audio. Why not? Yeah, and it does bypass this audio setting that we did here, so that's why I said check the box. Replay buffer is just replays. And then this is audio settings, 48 kilohertz, stereo, you get the point. Desktop audio devices, microphones. This is like a more accurate meter type for your audio down here. If you care, it says it uses up more of your CPU. And then under video, this is your resolution stuff, your frame rates, and then downscaling if this is different. Yeah, this was mentioned in the video. Try to do 1440p for YouTube streaming, and if you can. So yeah. And then under advanced, here's some older settings that I didn't get to show you in ePlusVox's videos. Process priority, this wasn't mentioned, but I like to keep it high. It's up to you. You can do whatever you want here. It's just, it might prioritize the game or prioritize this. Like, something with like a low process priority or something underneath high, this will be prioritized over this. So if a game is set to like above normal, OBS gets the priority. So most games are set to high as well, so yeah. I just don't want OBS losing any quality just because I'm playing a game at the same time. Color format NV12 for SDR, color space Rec 709, color range limited. Everything should be in limited. Anything video related on YouTube or any video platform should be in limited color range, even though this will conflict with consoles, especially the Switch. For HDR, I guess for HDR settings generally, this won't apply like 90% of you. As I said, YouTube HLS. Where else? There's some other settings here to change. Main 10, because that HDR is 10-bit. That is a thing to change, and I think that is most of the stuff here. Yeah. And then back into the advanced settings where we were. Do P010, Rec 2100 PQ. You can use HLG, but PQ is recommended. I'm copying what ePlusVox is saying. Leave this at limited, and then you can mess with these if you know what you're doing, but I don't. So yeah, I wouldn't do HDR streaming personally. It's a mess. But yeah, it's there if you want to do it, and if you have the capability. I'm just like, if I'm doing my Switch, I'm not gonna bother with it unless I'm playing on the PS5 or something. But yeah, that's general stream settings. Some general tips to first of all, you probably should have updated OBS. I think I mentioned this too. If you go to help, check for updates, it'll check for an update and you can download it there. If you're on a really, really, really old version of OBS, that won't even be there. You have to go to the website and download it again. Another thing is if you right click on audio mixer, hit advanced audio properties. This is audio monitoring to hear stuff through your headphones. On the right over here, I'm going to uncheck this to show everything. These are your audio tracks. You want one track for everything. These two things are, I don't use that microphones. The camera doesn't have a mic, and then the Brio is a webcam, and that microphone's pretty shitty. So I leave them unchecked just because, but you can leave them checked if you want. I like to have everything that I want in one source, one track for streams. That's pretty important. And then one track per device for videos. That way, when I'm recording and my desktop audio, like earlier, was a bit too low or too high, I can adjust it in post if I wanted to. I'm not editing this though. So, yeah. And then the microphone's in its own track, so I can adjust that volume separately. And then my capture card, yeah. So that's really an important thing to do. I like to keep track 1, or the track with everything in it, in my videos, just to use as like a syncing point, but it's not in the final video, It's just there to help sync up audio, because you can move things around. and it gets desynced. I digress. Another thing that's important is the stats. So these settings are pretty demanding that we went through today. So if you go up here to docs and you check on stats, YouTube live control panel, and chat, well, these two are optional, but stats is what this one is. And you can drag it to dock. It kind of works, but yeah. What the important settings in this stats panel are frames missed due to rendering lag and skip frames due to encoding lag. These two are purely hardware based. If you're seeing drop frames here, you need to change your settings. You're taxing your encoders on your GPU a bit too much, or a CPU if you went that decision, even though I highly told you not to. But yeah, um, there's like a threshold where this will drop and you won't see an encoding overload. So yeah. And then there's drop frames due to network. This is your internet dropping frames. That's what's visible down here and stuff. Yeah, you really wanted to keep an eye on this, especially after these settings because they're pretty demanding. Chat is just chat. YouTube live control panel is a live control panel. So yeah, that's OBS settings. A good TLDR. I guess one more thing is on your capture card. Let me pull up my Switch right now. A good thing to note. I like to set my capture card settings manually in here. So yeah. I run with 1440p. I'm on a PCIe capture card. But TLDR, set your frame rate to 60 or whatever you can do. Video format to NV12. Color space Rec 709. Color range, whatever the console is that you're using, is the better option. I used to do limited here, and I noticed that there was a slight difference, that it didn't look quite normal in the video or in the stream. So I would flip around with this. The Switch. So a good note for like even on just general TVs, to be honest. If we go down here to TV settings, RGB range, if I flip the full, you see there's no change, no screen flicker. That means it's outputting full. Usually on your TV, you want to use the full setting as well, or on whatever. There should be like a full or like a standard option or something. Maybe it's standard. I don't know. Yeah, you want to use that option on your device. Yeah. So I find here, even though we are going to limit it as an output like for the entire thing, I think full works better, but it might vary from capture card to capture card. I don't know. The best way to tell if it's incorrect is your blacks get crushed. So like as a good example, on your Splatoon 3 game icon, you can see there's a bit of black and a bit of gray in the background. Stuff like that is what you want to look for. If it's incorrect, they will look the same. They'll just look all black. That SRB2 dude's videos showcase it a lot in the menus. Not to like pinpoint that, but that's kind of what I first think of when I think of that issue. I think that SRB2 dude's content reflects that. I'm not gonna pull it up, but yeah, I don't want to like shame SRB2 dude there for that. But anyways, yeah. Maybe these settings aren't the right thing to use because like this is probably converting what your thing natively does. I don't know. Buffering disabled I find is better. It's like less latency and stuff. So yeah. For a quick thing on RGB ranges for devices, Nintendo Switch and PS5. I don't know about PS4, but I know PS5. They all use the full output range. High whatever. So set your TV accordingly. And OBS here, maybe. Xbox Series X, Xbox One, or Series S as well, and Wii U, those all output on low or limited. So set things accordingly for that. Which it's nice to use limited because it's just straight through, same the entire way through. But yeah, it's dumb the Switch has to do that. So if you do play Splatoon 1 on the Wii U, you gotta change that setting every time, which is really really annoying. Yeah, that's capture card settings out of the way. And then let's hop into the YouTube Live Control panel. Like, very last thing. I know we're hitting the 30-minute mark. So yeah. Couple things. One, low latency. Make sure it's checked. DVR. You probably want that on, so viewers can go back in your stream. And then this unlist thing. If it's checked, undo it because of the live pane. I mean, it's up to you, really. Yeah, none of these will get customized. Like, if you want tags, you want to add a game here, you might have to change your category to gaming. This is all default. You might want to change it to, like, newest, or allow all comments if you're a small channel like me, with not much attention. You get the gist. But the big one is under customization. It always unchecks live chat replay. which means when someone goes back and watches your stream later as a video, they won't see the live chat, which is really annoying. So you gotta check this every time. Yeah, so do that. Anytime you start a stream through OBS, that happens. Stream health on here will tell you, what to do for stream and stuff. You probably know that. So yeah, that's general recommendations for OBS settings. I think I did a good job at showing you things. Yeah. Sorry I couldn't give a better example or just an example of what to look for on that RGB setting. But hopefully so. I will say about that RGB setting real quick. If you're on the Wii U running, a low RGB range on when your TV or display is at the high, it raises black levels, and the blacks kind of look a bit gray. It's hard to tell, especially on LCD displays, because they already output gray or black a bit raised than an OLED would. So it's hard to tell, honestly. But once you spot it and realize, oh, this is wrong, maybe after a while you understand it, and yeah. I don't know. I'm on an OLED though, so it's kind of easy to pinpoint. I digress. Yeah, that's the definitive OBS settings guide. So yeah, hope you enjoy and found this useful. And yeah, I guess one last thing. Why is this important? Why do we just go through the entire 30-minute video? I should have started with this. For those running low quality streams on YouTube, why? If it's a bandwidth limitation, HEVC is going to keep your bit rates the same, and you're going to get a better, or the same. You're going to be at a higher quality for that same bit rate. H.264 has that distinct blocky-like look, and that is literally gone with HEVC. H.264 blocky. Let's see if this can just randomly pull up a thing. Really? So yeah, like this. Where am I going? Don't know. Let me make this full screen so it's easier to show you. If you ever see blockiness like this, you can see the grass over here. Everything looks really blocky. It's especially noticeable in more vibrant games, especially Splatoon. You really see the pixels, or it looks like it's pixels, but it's not. This is all an H.264 setting thing. You can even see around the menus here. It looks rough, really bad. Granted, that wasn't the roughest setting. But yeah, it looks a lot better on newer on H.265 or HEVC. And AV1 is even better. It's even more efficient, but not much hardware supports it. Yeah, so if you're running on those really low bitrate streams in H.264 and it looks like actual shit, yeah, switching to HEVC at the same bitrate will probably look like an actual high quality stream or a good stream that people would want to watch instead of that pixelated mess that I showed you. And then maybe you're using a pretty high setting on H.264 and you're like, why do I switch to HEVC? I was in that ballpark. Well, HEVC will, one, give you a better quality, and two, be more efficient. Instead of running 2500 bitrate, that's 25 with 3 zeros. That's adding an extra 0 to this. Yeah, that now takes you down to running at 15K, which is a lot more efficient. That frees up more bandwidth for other devices, and it looks better. So just I wouldn't, if you care about quality, HEVC and AV1 is the way to go, in my opinion. But it is personal preference. But yeah, H.264 is pretty old now. So yeah. So that's general settings and why they're important for everyone, unless you're maybe a Twitch streamer. In that case, watch that other video and apply those settings, because, yeah. So yeah, hopefully you find this helpful. Sorry I went over by 5 minutes.